Future Shay here, editing, adding this onto the video that I took from Friday. I was going to upload potentially Friday night for Avatar. I didn't. And I decided to actually wait till the end of the weekend, opening weekend, to upload my video, just so people had a chance to actually watch the video. Now I do have my 2 spoiler-free videos up, but I just still thought it was just better to wait, space it out a little bit more. So yeah, I'm gonna add this in. Hey, it's Shay. So saw Avatar Fire and Ash for the 3rd time today. It's out officially today. I saw it in IMAX 3D and 4DX yesterday, and I saw it in 3D D-Box today. And so I did do 2 spoiler-free reviews, which you can go check out, because this video is just going to be filled with so many spoilers and so many thoughts, and I'm going to be jumping all over the place. So yeah, if you haven't seen the movie, please go check those out, because those are truly spoiler-free. And this one is going to just be filled with my rambling. It's going to be very much like the Weapons one, where you can just play it in the background. It's just something that you can just honestly just put your headphones in. You don't even have to sit here and watch me. You can just play it in the background. Yeah, I guess the first thing, so I was talking to one of my friends from yesterday, and she was saying that, you know, she was really unhappy with how the movie didn't resolve anything, and with, you know, the humans and things like that. And I was saying, you know, there's still 2 more installments that they could focus more on that in the other movies. I thought that they did a good job with wrapping up certain aspects. You know, a couple things that I had noticed that I think were really major is that Neytiri in this movie, I think she finally made peace with humans, because she finally accepted Spider. And that was a major thing, because she went through, not just in my thoughts, is that she went through more of a mourning period beyond just losing her son. And the other one that I can think of is that Loran, their son, his sea brother, he was finally accepted too, where he was an outcast. And so I really like that. I can't think of the name of the creatures. And, you know, Spider was actually accepted into in with the people. And I know, you know, there was a concern about possibly reverse engineering this, being able to actually breathe their air. And in my thoughts, I don't know if they'll be able to reverse engineer it, just because of the way the process that was done. I don't think it's something that can be recreated. I know it was asked twice in the movie. No one answered it. I think that this movie actually takes place within like a week or 2 after. I don't know how long their mourning period is. So that's one thing that I'm not too sure about, because Sakik in the Reef people, they're talking about how Neytiri is still in her mourning period, and then Spider was also talking about his stitches as well, so those are still taking time to heal. I also don't really know how long this, like, the length of time this movie takes place over, because with what happened with Neytiri, she's healing from her arrow wound, but I don't know how much time exactly passes. I also don't know how long it takes for, like, the Kuri or Kurta, it starts with a K. It's the long piece. I also don't know how long that takes to grow as well. It seems like it was growing fairly quickly for Spider. And I also don't know, because I don't know if it was Quaritch or if it was his partner that was talking about with them having that cut, it's worse than death for them. So, and, you know, my friend tonight was talking about how when you have Barong using that on others, he was saying, well, that's how they mate. So he was saying, I wonder if when she does it, it's almost like the equivalent of getting kicked in the, in the sack for men. And I was saying, you know, I don't know if it's exactly that. I want to say it's more so, their heart, like it's their life force in a way, I guess, because it is a link to Eywa, but they don't really branch out on that. So that's a really big question that I have. They also don't clarify Quaritch. You don't actually see his body after this one. So my friend was saying, you know, I really wish that we actually got to see more of Barong and Quaritch, you know, where kind of like in the first one where with like Jake, it's like, oh, I'm going to be like the leader of, you know, the Ash people. So I'm wondering if maybe that's something that they're going to show in potentially the next two movies. I feel like they're going to show more of the human base, because they've when you looked at how the human settlement was, I mean, there was 10-year gap between the first two, so it makes sense. But it'll be curious if one of the other movies will be actually a focus of the destruction of the human base, in the sense of the base with those that are trying to destroy Pandora. Another thing that I had noticed at the end of the movie, unlike the first two movies where it ends with the eye opening, the eyes opening and the eyes being a different color, this one, when they moved out, it showed the world. So I'm really curious about what that symbolizes, in that, you know, if this actually ended up uniting the worlds in a way. And you also saw both the reef and the forest people in the other side. I was also saying to my friend, like, so we've seen Kiri's, what she sees, and, you know, we've seen Laurent, we've seen what he sees, but we don't see what Neytiri sees. And we also don't see what Jake sees. So I would love to see what they see on the other side. My friend was talking about how, you know, we have Eywa, and, you know, Eywa did not come to save them, the Ash people. But Barong was talking, this is just actually a thought now, Barong was talking about how she went and learned fire. And my friend was talking yesterday about, she wonders if maybe there is essentially an equivalent to Eywa, but it's fire related. So like maybe some sort of fire spirit within the volcano. So it would be really great to actually see more of that. And, you know, my friend today was talking about Quaritch and how there's been some evolution with him through, you know, the first movie. He was just very stereotypical, trigger happy, you know, grunt in a sense, sergeant. And, you know, he was showing a different side to him, especially at the end when he yells, "Oh, my son." So that's really interesting. Another thing that I was thinking about, or that I noticed, it took me actually the first two watches to see, it's when Kiri is trying to reach Eywa and she's going through all the wind and the forest. I didn't notice this initially, but she was going through the forest. And then, when the other two arrive, they end up going into the water. So I brought it up to my friend yesterday, and she said, well, that's very much like her journey, where she started in the forest, she ended by the reef. One thing that I had noticed is that, like the underwater spiritual holy place, the algae, I don't know what you would call it. It was bombed in this movie when they were attached. And, you have Kiri who's kind of sinking down below. And then you see like the butterfly jellyfish that ends up coming on its own. It comes on its own, of its own accord, and links to her. And this is before Spider goes back down. And I noticed that there were other of these butterfly jellyfish things around. And that, I don't know what you would call them, the squid things. They show up circling her, and their light up pattern is in sync with her light up pattern. So I'm theorizing that I wonder if, with the bombing, if in some way she's become like living Eywa, because she is Eywa's daughter. So, and she could speak to them and she could control them in the sense of like giving them direction, which she couldn't before. And it lit up, like it was brought back to life. So I don't know. I feel like there's something to do with her potentially being like taking in Eywa into herself. I don't know. So I'm kind of curious about that, about if they're going to branch out more into that. You hear more a little bit about Spider's mother in this one. And I'm trying to figure out who the mother could be in this one. Like, I'm trying to scan and trying to figure out who the mother could be, looking at his hair. I don't know. So that would be great if we could find out more about that. Yeah, there was just so many elements to this movie. So many elements. My friend was talking about how, they are probably sending more ships. And, I said, well, they need the money, and the money stops. So I don't know if they're actually going to send any more. I have no idea. So it'll be really interesting if they start banding together to actually remove all the dangerous humans. I'm not too sure. They did destroy a significant part of like their base or their city. So that'll be really interesting. I think this movie's going to do really, really well. And I'm like crossing my fingers that he actually does the other two, because there's too many things that have been left open for the movie to just not have continuation. So, I can't really, I'm trying to scan my brain of anything else that I, can think of that happened in this movie. It'll also be really interesting because you have Kiri and Spider, which there seems to be some connection there. So that will be really interesting. And then also with like Quaritch and Barong, you have two very different cultures as well. but they're in sync in many ways. So we didn't get to see too much of the Ash people. And then thinking about with Kiri and how she was starting to be able to control her, like, it starts with a K, more and more. And she was able to, like, link with Barong. And it was almost like a matriarch kind of thing. Same with Taruk, how, he came out of the water and he roared almost like, a matriarch, the alpha, calling in all the other, I forget the name. I'm tired. I can't think of too many other things, but no, I have to say that, I loved 4DX. My back is still very, very sore from it because it's like you're being on a roller coaster ride. And IMAX 3D, I also really enjoyed it. Very different. It's a long movie. It is a very long movie. But it's good. My friend said that he felt like it could have been a bit shorter. I thought it was a good length. I was totally engrossed. I mean, because I had already seen it twice in the last, 24 hours. I was kind of dozing off here and there because it was my third watch. But yeah, no, I wasn't expecting Quaritch to jump off in the end. Now, he did pay homage to the first one where he says, well, ain't this a bitch? I don't know if he said that in the second one. My friend tonight was saying that the fighting was kind of very similar to the second one. And I was saying, I think it was actually very similar to the first one. And I think it's similar to actually a combination of both of them. So with the microbiologist as well, that also is very similar. And I was just waiting for him to turn, because he was speaking up in the second movie. And then, he finally turned. So, it'll be really interesting to see if he ends up finding his way over to where Max and them are. Yeah, there's still so much, potentially if they're able to determine how the others, Max, Norm, all of them can actually shift over to becoming their avatars, that will be really interesting. So there's so many directions that this movie franchise can go. And I think this movie is it's gonna do really, really well. So there's no doubt that it's gonna continue. There's a lot that we still have to learn and see with Pandora and the Na'vi society and all of that, with it's just, yeah, I did notice, now that I'm thinking about it, I did notice that Spider and Kiri were the same height at the end of the movie. So that was one thing that I noticed, that they were a lot closer in height when they were in the spiritual society, into the spiritual plane, than they were when we saw them gathering the water earlier on. I also wasn't, it's interesting because the first movie had that, they had the flux, fields that threw off the instruments, whereas this was, flux magnetic field, which it just destroyed anything metal related. I was very satisfied when the female sergeant captain, I don't know what she was. I was surprised to see her still sitting on that boat, but I was happy to see her go because she was just awful. Just vile. So it makes sense why the Na'vi, the reef people, they had no problem being by that, because all their tools, their weapons are not made from metal. The I don't know if it's the sea traders, the air traders. That's another area that was briefly introduced that we didn't get to see too much of. So that's another area that I would like to see how like their trade and all of that works. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting what else that we're going to see. But no, fantastic movie. Great movie. I don't know if I'm going to see it any more times. If I do see it again, it's probably going to be like at least probably in the new year, realistically, because I've seen a lot more than most people have. And it's funny. So when I saw them, when I was at the theater last night, it was at the same theater, and I'd scanned my ticket, and I had gone into the 4DX screen room, and I was trying to upload like my initial post saying, oh, I'm going in to see the 2 p.m. and the service sucks. So I ended up having to I ended up walking out, and I was talking to the lady that scanned my ticket. Was a lady that I had seen previously. She's like, I recognize you. And the last time I saw her, we were talking about the first Wicked and how she saw in 4DX, and she said it was really, really cool. So I said, oh, I'm seeing Avatar in 4DX. And she said, yeah, the service sucks, so you have to go out to the lobby. And by the time I was going back in, it was this young guy. And I showed him, and I said, I got scanned. And he's like, okay, great. So I went in, and then as I'm leaving, normally I'm someone that says, oh, have a good day. And, I didn't say anything when I walked out. I filmed my review, met up with my friend for the 6 p.m. And then we went back inside, and then because it was on the same, I think the IMAX screen is screen, I don't know, 1. And then the 4DX screen is, I think, screen 8. So they're on the same side. And it's the same young guy. So I was like, yeah, no, I was just here. You saw me earlier. And he's like, oh, yeah. I'm like, yeah, I saw it on the 4DX, and now I'm seeing it in IMAX 3D. He's like, oh, my God. And I said, yeah. And then, I feel so bad. I'm so clumsy. So they had these movie posters for the SpongeBob movie. And I spilt my popcorn that had butter on them when I was for the first ticket scanning. And then someone had put their cup of water down there. And then I had knocked that over onto the posters the second time. I'm just the clumsiest person. Anyway, when I was there tonight, that same young guy was at the where we scan our tickets, but it was on the other side because we were seeing in the D box. And I think it was screen 9. And when I walked up, I was like, oh, I saw you here yesterday. And he's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, I'm seeing Avatar again. He's like, again? I was like, yeah, again. And he's like, oh, have a good night. And so then I went in, and then bathroom run because it's a 3.5 hour movie. And when I was walking back in, I'm like, yeah, I'm seeing Avatar again. He's like, again? I'm like, yeah, I saw it twice yesterday and I'm seeing it again today. He's like, for that long of a movie? I said, it doesn't feel that long at all. It goes by really, really, really quickly. I was super immersed. And he's like, okay. I'm like, yeah, no, it was a really good movie. So I don't regret seeing it 3 times. I'm very happy with it. I can't think of anything else. There's so many questions that, are still left to answer. So many potential directions that he can take it. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the other installments and what he does. I really want, by the time the 5th one comes out, which knock on wood, believe that it's going to happen. By the time the 5th one comes out, I am hoping and I'm crossing my fingers that it's wrapped up neatly with a nice bow, where it's like they've covered over everything. They don't need to expand on anymore. So that's what I'm really hoping. But yeah, here, I think this is all I can think of, all I can say. I'm very tired. But yeah, no, the 3rd watch was a success. I noticed more the 3rd watch, actually. I noticed a lot more than I did watch a lot, notice some in the 2nd watch, but I think because they were back to back, I didn't have that where you have there's when you have a bit of time to, I guess, to, I don't know, give your mind a break. I don't know. But yeah, no, it was enjoyable. And the countdown has begun till the next installment, which is going to be out in 4 years, I think. So who knows where life will be, but you best believe I will be seeing the next Avatar movie and the one after that in theaters. The early screening is going to happen. But yeah, that's all I can think of for now. You can comment below if there was anything else that I was missing, what you liked about the movie, thoughts. You can comment if you agreed, or if there was anything that I said that, it piqued your interest. If there's you can even do like the timestamp. So then I can go to that timestamp and know, what I was talking about at that point. But yeah, I wasn't expecting this to be about the same length as the weapons one. But yeah, no, this is just one that you can literally listen to with your headphones in. You don't need to actually watch me. I'm just sitting looking at the camera. There's nothing that you need to see. Nothing that you actually need to sit and watch me talking. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed my video. I pretty much shot it in one full shot. I did pause it very briefly, but it's just been completely live, which is, I guess, how I prefer to do things. I trying to do cuts and edits just kind of throws me off. I just want to get it done in one shot, even if it takes me multiple attempts. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. The biggest thing that people are saying is that the CGI is phenomenal, and I completely agree with that. And it's one that you need to see in IMAX, and you need to see the first 2. You have to see the first 2. But if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, most likely you have watched the first 2, because there's so many connections between the first and second and third. You got to go in order, because that's how the order of the movies is. But thank you for taking the time to listen. I hope that I shone a light of perspective on your Avatar viewing experience, and on to the next movie. Thanks, guys.